Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Airing It Out podcast. Now, this is the second episode of our interview with Jessie. So, it's been a week for you guys, but it's only been 5 minutes for us.
Yeah.
You ready for round two?
I am ready. I've got my cup of tea at the ready.
Amazing. Cup of tea made by Mum. Love that. So I thought we might start with a positive question. We've got plenty of them to get through, but I just want to chuck one in here. Okay. What makes you feel alive?
Well, that's a difficult one. It's a positive one, but it's really difficult, isn't it? What makes me feel alive? My family.
Nice.
I think my immediate family. I know I relate to that one quite a lot, as you can tell. I'm very proud of my family, but my children especially, they make me feel alive. I tell you, probably very tired, but very alive as well.
Amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. On the last episode, we spoke about Jessie's history as a gypsy and the culture around that, about being gay and coming out and mental health journeys that he's had. Today we're going to talk about what it's like being a paramedic, being in the services, and we're also going to talk about self-acceptance, which I think is a big one.
Yeah.
For someone who's got so many identity tags, learning to live with yourself, I think that's something that you'll be an excellent person to speak to. But we're also going to give Jessie the opportunity to say what he has to say, as well as reflections on his life. So, as a firefighter myself, I think this is a conversation that I've been looking forward to. When we met, the first thing that we kind of spoke about and had a commonality with was the services. Jessie and I met at jury service.
I was waiting for that. I was thinking, how's he going to say we met? But yeah, we did.
Yeah, which was an interesting experience in itself, but we found that having a background in the services served us, quite well when it came to serious topics like we experienced in court. But one of the first questions that I wanted to ask you about being a paramedic was, what are some of the realities of being a paramedic that the general population might not be quite so aware of? Yeah,
so we're busy, absolutely busy. I think, the people think when they see an ambulance or, paramedics working, they think, oh my God, they go into a car accident, they go into a car crash, they go into a house fire, they're dealing with catastrophic events all the time. I think what I can tell you is absolutely, I'm sorry to break it to you guys, if there's anyone out that wants to be a paramedic for them reasons, you don't do that. You see other things as well. And, you see things such as urinary tract infections, you pick up a lot of GP work, there's a lot of queuing, there's a lot of outstanding incidents. So, for example, I could sign on an ambulance and go to an incident that happened last night, that was called in by 999 last night. But unfortunately, it's gone to the bottom of the stack because Category 1s have come in and taken over the calls. I will just do do you mind me doing a little bit of explanation about Category 1, just so people understand what I'm talking about? Yeah. So obviously you've got your Category 1s, Category 2s, Category 3s, and then your normal road speed. Your Category 1s are your cardiac arrest, your most serious event.
Sorry, I just said I said to Ben that I wouldn't swear for the first 5 minutes. Oh. But as soon as what came to my Category 1, fucking get there.
Yeah,
you get there.
Yeah, it's true. It is. We always say fucking diesel.
Diesel.
Sorry for swearing.
No, it's fine.
Typical service people here. I'm very sorry, guys. Diesel is what we think. Get there as soon as you can, and if you can't fix them, you can't treat them. Do the best you can and get them to hospital as quickly and as safely as possible.
Professionally responsible.
So that's our Category 1s. The really unfortunate events, a cardiac arrest, drownings, stabbings, shootings. Just trying to think of anything else really. Serious car accidents, your bombs, your explosions, your terrorist attacks. Thankfully, we don't have many of them around here, but they do happen. And I've got friends that have attended terrorist incidents and things that I might send your way for your podcast, just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And, that have been exposed to them sort of things. But then you've got your Category 2s, which depend. Category 2 is a difficult one because often you can go to a Category 2 and actually you're like, whoa, that's a Category 1.
Right.
Or you go to a Category 2 and you think, actually, this is a normal road speed. But again, it's to do with the control room and how the calls are categorised. They're not medically trained, so it's all written off a screen, and then it comes up with what category, and then it goes to the dispatch team, who then dispatch an ambulance or a car. Your Category 2s are sort of your chest pains, unlikelihood of cardiac. If they think it's definitely cardiac, they'll probably upgrade it to your red or red Cat 1. And then obviously you've got your category 3s, which are your, often, believe it or not, can be your RTCs, which is known as a road traffic collision.
Yeah.
And often that's because it's an ethane, which you probably know what one of them is.
Yes.
Don't ask me to word each one because I've forgotten, Sam. But
Big incident.
yes, basically. So basically what we want to know from that, or the control room want to know, is, what's happened, what resources do you need? If you need resources, where can they park?
Yeah.
How many casualties? And we often refer to it as a window screen handover.
Okay.
Very, very brief. So I'm pulling up in the ambulance and I can see that I've got 3 patients on the road that are not conscious and breathing. There's a car that's on its side. There's someone trapped in the back of the car. And there's multiple cars, queuing. People are getting out of their cars because they're taking pictures. So, you need to think of everything, patients, potential new patients, and, risk to you, because scene safety comes first, always. So if the scene is not safe, you do not proceed until the scene's been made safe.
Yeah.
And to make a scene safe, we've got you lovely guys, fire service, we've got police, we've got our heart paramedics, we've got everyone around it. And then you've got category 3s, which is a big one. For us, we are doing a lot of GP work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people can't get hold of their GP.
So they call you.
They do. It's the first thing they do, and often GPs are then saying well, you need to call an ambulance, and you'll get there, and some of the time it is appropriate, some of the times it's inappropriate, and then we'll refer directly back to the GP and then get them the treatment that they need.
Yeah.
For example, if I go to someone and they've got, I don't know, urinary tract infection, but they're not sepsis with it, so they're not really unwell, I'll think, you need some antibiotics. You're safe at home, you've got a good care package in place, or actually you don't need any care package, but you've got someone to safety net you and keep an eye on you. I'll ring the GP, give them a handover, tell them what the observations are. The GP feels satisfied without seeing them, on my opinion. We'll give antibiotics, and then they stay at home. We avoid hospital admission. So paramedics do quite a lot. It's not just about driving around on blue lights and going to car accidents. It's, we try and keep as many people as we can at home. And, that's an important thing, because our NHS is really, really struggling at this moment in time. We have done since COVID. Again, COVID, I think, will be a good one to pick up later, actually, because it sort of interlinks a little bit with our last episode. But I think it's an important one because it sort of shows you what people really went through.
Okay.
And that's hopefully explained it a little bit.
That's a very good answer. I met an ambulance driver at an event that we did with the fire service, and she said that the ambulance that she used.
I have to correct you on one thing, Sam.
Oh, what have I done?
You can't say ambulance driver.
I'm
joking.
What was I saying?
ECA or paramedic.
Fucking hell. ECA. All right, paramedic.
Yeah.
Definitely not a person who drives an ambulance.
Yeah.
That's
tickled me.
She said that the ambulance that she drives, even though she's an ECA, has over 600,000 miles on it.
Yeah, that's true.
And the most that she's done in a single shift was 400 miles. Is that kind of reflective of how busy the ambulance service are?
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. You can be doing miles, and often you don't get to incidents.
This is what she said.
That's a huge thing. I've actually got a documentary on BBC One.
Do you?
Yeah, I can send it to you, and you can watch me for a good old 20 minutes, whatever it is, and you can see I'm constantly being re-diverted to incidents.
Wow.
So it's it's cardiac arrest, it's a motorcyclist, then a lady's fallen over, then you go back to another incident, and then you end up going to someone else, and you're like, oh, what's happened? Why am I here? And the guy, bless him, David Fenton from the BBC, was lovely, but he did say on it and on the news that he was struggling to keep up with me because he just doesn't know how we sort of stay focused, because it is quite difficult, because in your head, if you're thinking I'm going to one thing and then you're diverted four or five times, in your brain you've got to keep adapting to each situation. And obviously algorithms, they change. So a breathing rate for a child is not the same as an adult. A heart rate for a child is not the same as an adult. The drug dosages are all different. So you need to really think about what you're doing. And these guys are under pressure.
It seems like a massive mental strain.
Yeah, it's huge.
I mean, it can happen where we get directed when we're on the fire engine, but it's usually you're going to a particular job for a reason, lock in and focus on what it is that you've got to do, rather than get 3/4 of the way, okay, now you're getting turned around to something else, and then you get to that one, you might be there 5 minutes, get out. It sounds like a lot of chopping and changing rather than being given a one-track focus. Oof. Yeah, sounds tiring. What do you wish more people knew about the ambulance service? Well, about being a paramedic?
The strains of the job, actually, and what service is appropriate at what time, because I think it's too easy to call an ambulance, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And understandably, people, I think educating people is the biggest thing that we need to do, so they understand that there are other services out there other than the ambulance service. So, like I said earlier, if someone, I don't know, is struggling at home to cope, we don't just need to call an ambulance straight away. Your GP loads, all the time. It can vary. You can get. I've known people get calls because an elderly lady can't get out and get a meal out of the microwave, so the ambulance crew gets called and dispatched to go out in the house and
sounds more like a fire service job.
Yeah, exactly. It seems quite crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And when you think how much an ambulance costs per run, I've never really known the true answer, but I think it's like £800 per unit. So £800 to get a microwave meal out of a microwave. Whereas there are other services out there, and I think what we need to be doing, not us personally, but the NHS or the country, is embracing other services and explaining what they all do. Because often people don't know. It's not because they just want to call you. Because often the first thing you'll get is, "I'm so sorry, I've called an ambulance. I'm so embarrassed.
Oh, really?
Please don't come in." And I'll say, "No, not at all. It's not your fault. You've called, 111 for advice, and their advice has been to call an ambulance. Quite rightly, 111 are following an algorithm, and they have to stick by that algorithm. If an ambulance has been told to be sent, you go."
Wow.
And likewise for us, if we're sent the job, you attend the incident. But I think what we need to do is to start, exploring, educating people that there are so many more people in services out there. It doesn't always need to result in an ambulance.
I think you make it's such a valid point that it's not that people don't want to, because it's not that people want to, it's that they don't know. And that's a massive thing that we've been conscious on the podcast, because like I said, we had in the last episode, we spoke about the episode we did recently about an important message that we had to share, and that was to do with signposting. Went to an attempted suicide with the fire service, and it's the point of the message was to say to people, there are services out there, here they are, this is what they do, just give them that knowledge. You're now armed with that knowledge, and if you ever encounter someone anywhere, then you've got this, you know that they're there. And I think just knowing that these places are out there, no matter what you might run into, you've got it in your back pocket. I know that there's somewhere specific to go. Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but it's good. It explains it, doesn't it?
So someone who's at home, struggling, and they need some care needs, or you can go to your local, even your local citizens' advice. They're not just there for bills and money worries. They're there for local charities, understanding things.
Right, yeah.
It's just being signposts. And I think the biggest point that I'm trying to make is just to relieve the service a little bit, because they are heavily, heavily stacked. And, obviously with that comes staff morale. With staff morale and negativity and, not being able to sort of enjoy your job, comes all them negative thoughts, and then it then affects your health.
Yeah.
And I can tell you it's huge in the NHS alone, not just the ambulance service. Mental health in staff is absolutely huge. And I would say it's always been the same, but I think COVID didn't help.
Yeah.
I know it's made its imprint on me, I'll be honest.
Talk to me about COVID.
Yeah, COVID was horrific.
Yeah.
That's the time I actually left my full-time post. Absolutely horrific. It was awful. So many people dying. It was so non-subjective, if that makes sense. I think what I mean by that, it was just so random. You could go to an older person that was absolutely fine with it, and a younger person that was dying of it. It was so weird. And there was some horrific stuff going on. I mean, the media, I think, scared a lot of people. Quite rightly, I understand why they were doing it. They were doing it because they wanted to stop the spread of the virus, which we had to try and do. But obviously it was also quite scary at the same time for people, And I think I feel sorry, it started off with a clap, which was amazing. The Thursdays were amazing. but then it did turn into a slap because we weren't allowed our pay rise and all things like that. I don't think we were well looked after as we should have been. You know, and obviously we all know in the media what went on. Boris Johnson having his parties, you know, and most people find that funny. Personally, I did find it funny until I reflected, and actually I don't find it funny anymore because it's, you know, we were really struggling. I remember living in a hotel all on my own. I was moved out of my home.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit.
To go to work and stay away from my family because my dad at the time, Chris, as you know, was elderly. He had lots of pre-existing health problems, and I didn't want to give him COVID and kill him, or my mum. So I remember staying in this little hotel in Southampton, and I had no one. No healthy food. Granted, the ambulance service were amazing. They paid for all my food and everything, but it's very lonely. And at a time of COVID, you need family, you need friends.
Support.
Yeah, like I remember going out for a little walk through Southampton where I was staying, and the city was empty. There was no one. So you go out and you try and get a smile from someone to kind of, I don't know, a little chat.
Bit of humanity.
And there was nothing. Yeah, there was nothing. You're on your own, and I think that massively affected people. And it's kind of since that. I mean, often what you hear is ridiculous comments like, "Oh, it never fazed me. It didn't bother me. I thought it was lovely." You hear that one quite a lot. You know, it was peaceful. No, it wasn't. It was horrible. It was absolutely vile. It was a horrible time. Families couldn't see one another. We were very quiet initially. It was really weird because everyone was staying in, and then it got mental where people were really, really sick. I remember going to people with what we call happy hypoxia, whereas your oxygen rate should be between 94 to 100% in a healthy person. And basically we were going to people that had oxygen levels of 45, 50, Jesus. Which are people you would normally see on intensive care or needing a ventilator. And these people were sat there smiling. And it was such a rare, weird thing to see medically. And we were learning as we're going along. And, you know, at one point I remember being on the ambulance thinking, what about me? Like, I don't mean to sound selfish, but, you know, if I'm down managing these people's airway, what about me as a person? How's that going to affect me? And then I also remember the guidelines when they first came out. If you had someone in cardiac arrest, you had to cover their face with a towel.
What?
Yeah. I remember doing that. I remember the advice doing it. I remember going to someone who had suspected COVID in cardiac arrest. I turned up, I was on the ambulance car, and CPR was being given by a relative. And I had to explain to the relative what I was doing, but I just thought the trauma of seeing it. I would go, if my mum, her face was covered up with a towel, I mean, it's awful. And it was just dreadful. And I just think, you know, these things don't help people. You know, whether you're a paramedic, whether you're fire, whether you're police, I think, you know, we are all human. And I just feel the whole experience was not a good one.
Yeah. Your duty was so much more demanding.
Absolutely.
At that time.
Yeah, I found it really draining, actually. And I've never been like this, but I was such a hypochondriac, constantly worrying about getting ill. Because I just kept thinking, oh my God. And then I remember the day I got back after a night shift. I was on my run of 5. And how it works is you start early, late, and then night on this particular run. So I'd done one night and I had one night left. And I remember getting back from my night shift thinking, right, I'm on again tonight. But my legs were really achy. And the pain was like down my legs, and I thought, I don't feel right, but I'm sure it's just tiredness or stress. And then I went, and this is when I'd moved back from Southampton, so this was very late on, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, I feel so ill. And I did a COVID test, and then it came back positive, and I just remember the anxiety, feeling the adrenaline and cortisol run all through my body. It was just so scary. I was so scared about it, and I thought, oh my God, how's this going to pan out? Because no one knows. It was I think it was luck. You know, I know they say it's down to, you know, DNA, blood groups, all of that. We didn't know that at the time. It was just random, and I was just thinking, oh my God, like, I
can't imagine how you must have felt.
Yeah, it's terrifying because all you see is that patient that you took into resus that was going to die.
Right.
Yeah.
Because while the world around you is closed off, isolating and quarantining, you're there going out, and you're going out and seeing people, going to those people. I don't what's the word I'm looking for? I've lost the word.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
You don't envy me.
I don't envy you.
I think that's what you mean.
That is what I mean.
I
I was
don't
about
know
to say
what
I
it
don't
means,
empathise with you,
yeah.
but that's not very nice.
No, it was horrible. It was dreadful, and and I just think it's still, even though we're years down the line, it kind of does it. And I remember last night even. This goes back to the triggers, like I said. I was reading an article on, I can't remember where it was actually. It just came up on the computer, and it said World Health Organization are worried about another new strain of COVID,
right.
And it sends your stomach flying because you're like, oh my god, not again. The monkeypox thing. You get all these things that in the past you're like, oh, it's just media or whatever. It's just out there and it'll be nothing. It does worry you because you've seen what it can have, and COVID did have a devastating impact on us, I think.
Wow. So it's been a number of years now since COVID.
Yeah.
Do you guys have much support?
Yes. I can't. Yeah, we do. It varies, but we do. We have trim practitioners, and when I say trim practitioners, they are paramedics, ECAs, members of the ambulance service, and they've done additional training for sort of counselling as such. They're not officially counsellors.
Okay.
If you need that, then you need to kind of go back to your GP.
Yeah.
I have to say, I had quite a tough experience.
Yeah.
I got pericarditis, which is like basically an infection around the heart, pericardial sac, due to COVID.
Oh, really?
And I was actually really poorly, and I had loads and loads of sickness. I was off for a long time, and I felt really, really guilty about it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't handled brilliantly because I was nearly put on a stage 2 sickness, which you have stage 1, stage 2, and then stage 3's capability, and you lose your job basically. That's how it works. And I remember getting a letter from my GP and attending this meeting with a manager and a new manager that was in training, and the new manager happened to be a union rep. So I was hoping that I was going to get a bit of sideness, but I didn't. And I just remember saying, I've got a letter here from my GP and it's COVID, and the government, I think, made it law that if it's COVID related, it doesn't affect your sickness, because essentially the only reason I got COVID was because I was exposed to it working in my line of work, and the only reason I got pericarditis is because I got the COVID, and the reason I'm off with pericarditis is because I got the COVID. Does that make sense? So it has a detrimental effect, and essentially my sickness wasn't affected at that point. But yeah, I did feel a little bit, I don't know, it's not unsupported, but just disappointed about it, because it wasn't something that I asked for.
Yeah.
No one would ask for that, would they?
No. Is there more that the public could do or paramedics could do to support one another?
Talk.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that is one of the biggest medicines ever, talking. You have to talk how you feel.
Taking that proper time.
Absolutely, and having some downtime. And, the ambulance service, the way it is, even the short time that I was in, I say short time, I've been paramedic like 12 years, but it is a short time considering some people have been in 30 plus years. But, talking is huge. And back in the day, people would go back to base on their meal break and all chat together. That doesn't work now, because it is literally like a conveyor belt. You have your break and you get your break 30 minutes smack on. And I guarantee you within the second of the 30 minutes, you're sent straight out again. So there is no time to sort of sit around and talk because of the demand of the service. Quite rightly, they have to attend to the incidents. They've got to do it because it's government guidelines that are set out to us, and ultimately patient safety. So, we have to be there for our patients. But I think all I would say is looking after one another, which I feel we do really, really well.
Yeah.
But obviously just talking and being honest and open, because often if you're feeling an emotion or you're thinking about something, so's the other paramedic.
Okay.
But it just takes the one with courage to stand up and say, I'm feeling like this,
Yeah.
to then open the book so others can say, actually, so am I.
Something that I was in a meeting this morning about men's support network for the fire service, but one of the things that we were thinking about for people's mental health is just like doing open activities, so inviting loads of people to do cycling or walking or swimming. One of the guys suggested, why don't we just do that for all the services?
Yeah.
Invite the paras, invite the police as well, and because he said it would be so beneficial if we could all look out for each other on the job, instead of just the fire crew and the ambulance service looking out for each other.
Yeah.
We can look after one another and say, "You're okay. How are you doing? Let's take a second. Let's pause and I think that would be good.
Yeah, I think it sort of goes back a little bit of what I said. Like We're not machines. We are people.
We need that.
No matter what training you do, whether you're in the army, whether you're in the fire service, whether you're a paramedic, whether you're police, behind that uniform, you are a person. You've got your own story, and everyone has vulnerabilities.
It's like it's almost like you can be as professional as you can be until you need to be personal.
Yeah.
Until you need to say, okay, I've been professional as fuck. I need to talk to someone like a person.
Yeah. And vent.
Yes. Get it off your chest.
Yeah.
How do you manage your mental health with the ambulance service?
I'm quite good. I would say I'm a good talker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah. Is that a shock? I like talking. I think it's healthy. I think it's good to let someone know what's on your mind. And sometimes that gets me in trouble.
Is it?
Yes, it does. And it has got me in trouble.
Surely not.
Yeah. It has. I say things and I think, oh shit, shouldn't have said that. Yeah. But it's just, it comes out. Do you know what I mean? And I think, you know where you stand like that. I hate, how can I word this? I'm trying to be really, really professional here, but I'm just going to say it as it is. I don't like backstabbing stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like seeing someone and then they leave and you're like, oh God, I didn't like what you did. I would tell someone, actually, I didn't like what you did and you actually really offended me. Move on. We'll then have a cup of tea and something to eat and a laugh. Yeah. No friendship lost. Because I think the more you let things flurry up and build up, it's that domino effect. It builds up and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And then all of a sudden it then spills over and everything goes horribly wrong. Things are said that shouldn't be said and it can't be fixed. You go back and you build the tower again, but there's like Jenga, there's little bits missing, and it kind of you lose that relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So deal with your problems.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And just be honest and open.
Yeah.
You know, if something's bothering you, say it.
Yeah, because you have the right.
It hasn't benefited me. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not always benefited me because I've been told in the past that I'm too nice.
Yeah.
And that did affect me actually. Really affected me because I always wanted to be like a team leader in the ambulance service, and I was a mentor. I was given that opportunity, but team leader never given the opportunity ever. And there were other people that got the job all over me, and they'd only been in 5-10 minutes sort of thing. Obviously not quite literally, but in a short period of time. Yeah. And you know, it's because they were, I don't know, harder to talk to, very stern, very down the line, very very militant, and I'm not like that. Yeah. And I think the best way to get things out of people is to be an approachable, caring, kind, compassionate person, but have boundaries, set example. You know, you have to be thorough, be assertive, but I think, you know, you don't need to be militant. You need to be a person
as well.
Well, I thought that, but as I say, the outspokenness never did get me anywhere because I never got that top job that I wanted. But in a way, I'm glad because I wouldn't be where I am now if I did get it. So everything in life does happen for a reason.
Love it. Okay. What do you love about being a paramedic?
I love going into work and not knowing what I'm going to deal with.
Okay.
I'm very lucky that I've secured new jobs. So I've got a new job. Well, I say it's a new job. I've done it a while now, a couple of years. I'm actually a flight paramedic. So I work bank in the ambulance service on the ground, and you know, just sort of I do the RRV or an ambulance. But in the flight paramedic stuff, I fly to Jersey and Guernsey and do repatriation for patients that are quite really poorly that need specialist care here.
Yeah.
So an example of that could be someone who needs a pacemaker or who suffered a cardiac arrest and needs an internal defib. You know, they're in our hands and we've got to get them back safely and alive, essentially. And I love working under pressure. I'm quite crazy like that. I really enjoy pressure. Basically, I love that part. And I love the part when I'm on the ambulance car or the ambulance itself and I have no clue what I'm going to next. I like the unpredictability. I would hate a mundane job where I know what I've got to do every single day. Yeah. It would bore me. I wouldn't look forward to going into work, and it would just, I mean, you know, I like, it's we're all different, aren't we? And it's good we're all different because there's so many jobs out there in the world that we all need to do. But yeah, I like the unpredictability. I like the working under pressure and not knowing what I'm going to do. Leaving the house to go and I'm going to work, but I couldn't tell you what I'm going to see or do today.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah, it keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it does.
So we're going to talk a little bit about self-acceptance now. And the first one, straight out the gate, is when did you learn to accept you for you? At what point were you?
What, going back to my life or like...
Was there a particular moment where you kind of learned to accept yourself for who you were?
Not really, because I still struggle with it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have accepted that I'm me, and you can't change what you are, who you are.
I think it's a constant battle, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
you want to do better. You constantly strive to do better, and
if you're always changing and growing, then you've always got new things to adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would say I'm pretty happy at this moment in life. Like, yeah, pretty happy with what I've achieved so far. I need to learn not to please other people still.
Okay.
It's not as bad, but I'm always constantly thinking, oh God, what are they saying? What are they saying? But I need to just think to myself, actually, if things aren't being said to you directly, then it's not worth worrying about, is it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Ignorance is quite bliss sometimes, isn't it? So,
it definitely is.
But yeah, I think I'm really happy. I think I've finally got to a point, probably this last year, that actually I've realised what I've achieved is quite nice. For the first time ever, the other day I made a video just online to people, just thanking them for the follows of the sun, and it was amazing because all these people were saying really nice stuff, friends, family, and I just remember, and not everyone was saying nice stuff, I'll tell you that,
Of
they
course,
weren't,
obviously.
which is a shame, and I was probably a little bit hurt from it because some people that didn't say some nice things, you would have expected them to say something nice, but hey ho, that's life and that's how it goes. And sometimes you learn lessons by doing things like that, don't you? You know who's there for you and who's not.
Yeah.
But I think this last year I've had a realisation that actually so far so good, and I'm pretty happy and content with myself. So.
Yeah. And before last year, was it common for you to stop and look back?
No.
No.
Always striving to do more, or sitting there thinking, God, you've done shit at that, Jesse, or oh, that's rubbish, or this is rubbish, or that's rubbish.
Not giving yourself a moment to stop. Yeah, I get that. It's almost like you're not quite where you want to be yet. So until you're there,
not quite.
No, it's full steam ahead, and then when you're at the top of the mountain, take a look back for a moment. But no, I'm definitely the same. I just want to keep going and going and going until we're at a point where I think it's almost like I can afford myself a moment to stop and look back. But that's silly.
I think it's the personality. I often think that about myself. I don't think. I might be wrong, and you might do an interview with me when I'm 70, hopefully, if I'm still alive, probably not. And I might turn around and say, actually, yeah, I'm at a point in life, I am where I want to be. But I think I'm that person. I probably never will be truly able to say, I'm happy. Do you know what I mean? I am happy, but there'll always be someone else I find that I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's my coping mechanism with life and the mental health and the feeling. It's having a goal.
Yeah.
Because if I've got no goal and no purpose, it's hard to get through them bad days.
It's like when people retire, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm getting at, actually.
If they don't have something, then I see what you mean. So it's like a healthy mechanism for you to always have something to be moving on.
Absolutely. And I've known people that have retired and then they go down this spiral of, getting ill health and horrible diagnosis and, feeling depressed and anxiety and all these things. And just because they've got the time on their hands and their body's trying to readjust to a new you. Because it sounds the dream, but it is a new you, isn't it? When you're working God knows how many hours a week and you're under a stressful job that's physically, mentally, emotionally demanding, to then nothing, it's a big thing.
It's a big change.
Yeah. And it's probably not that healthy. You can retire, by the way.
But as a warning, if you do, everything's going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Would you say today you're content with who you are?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I would say I am, yeah.
I think having the podcast definitely helps because we've been go right back to the beginning and look at things. But...
It has actually. Yeah, it's really weird. It's very weird talking about yourself. And when you mentioned questions about me being a kid, I took myself back there and, imagined me in my old house where I used to live, what I did, and then till now sat here and I'm like, oh wow, actually it's not too bad. It's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think... even though you and I are of similar minds where it's, okay, have something to keep going for or keep going until you've got it, I think taking that second and stopping, and no matter where you are, no matter how high up the mountain, whether it's your 4th or your 10th, to, I'm trying to appreciate it now, recently, to just stop and say, okay, no, actually go through it, see where you've been, see what you've done, have a look and appreciate just how far you've come. I think that time for reflection is really kind of, it's it's almost healing. Important. So yeah, listeners, take some time and have a look at some of the things that you've achieved. Would you say that you're your true self?
Yeah, I would now actually. Probably not in the past.
No.
Like I mentioned in the previous episode, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you're trying to be what you think people want you to be, rather than be what you want to be. But I would say now I'm 100% myself. I would never have done the things that I've done in this week alone in my life. I don't know what's happened. Like the penny's just dropped and I've gone, right, here's an opportunity. Anyone else given the opportunity would take it, go for it, see what happens. And that's what I've done. And that's definitely new for me. I think I've shocked myself and others that, they're like, are you all right? Is everything all right? I think one of the comments I got was, is he unwell at the moment? Is he all right? Yeah, I am well, actually. I'm really, really well. And, I think I've just decided that actually take opportunity in life. We all, like I said earlier to you, we're all born the same way in this world. And you make your own path and your own luck. And, if you put the effort in, you put the time in, you prioritise the right things, it may seem like a lifetime, but you will get there and you'll be able to reflect and, agree that you've, made it, made yourself something in life.
Yeah. And it's like those 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years are going to pass anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what do you want to do with them by the end of it? That's something that's helped me in terms of actually making something or trying to make something of myself. It's like in a year's time or in 10 years' time, I have a choice now of how I'm going to look back and think I could have done absolutely nothing with my time and nothing would have changed, or in 10 years' time I could have made a world of difference. I could be living a completely different life.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be your authentic self?
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Weird. Like really, like this last week when I said to you, like,
not necessarily in the context of everything that's been happening last week. Perhaps maybe more the last year when you've been
amazing, weird, strange, enjoyable, relaxing. All them words just come to mind. I know I get it out like that, but sometimes I think there's not just one answer to a question.
No?
And you think all them things, and it is actually quite relaxing. And I think the second you realise to yourself that you're being yourself, you're not trying to please anyone else, the better it is for you, and nothing will stand in your way, because the only person that's standing in your way is yourself.
Yeah,
that's the only part. Yeah,
it's your perceptions of
absolutely. It's yourself. Do you know what I mean? I've always said this: you come in the world on your own, and regardless of what you do, what you earn, what you buy, who you marry, who you love, family, you go out on your own. And in between, it's down to you how you want to live your life. And I think it's really important to recognise that as soon as you can, because I wish that I would have noticed that a lot earlier.
Yeah, definitely the same boat.
Do you know what I mean? I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because you just, you do sit there. Reflection can be a positive, but it can also be a horrible thing sometimes, because you beat yourself up. But I always say, do it the sandwich. I'm not going to swear because I don't want to swear.
No, we're 5 minutes in. You can
shit sandwich.
Yeah, nice.
It's really, really important. Start off with something bad that's really annoying you. Start off with, I hope I've got this right. No, start off with something really good. Start off with something bad that's really pissing you off or annoying you, and then end on a good note. Because there'll always be something you can improve on, but there'll always be something that's positive that you've done really well. And it's important to take the positive out of everything, because we can all, as humans, we can be always negative.
That's what we were saying.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to focus on the negative. Okay. What's it taken you to become your authentic self?
Well, how long?
No, what has it taken?
Everything. No, I'll give you it, Sam. Sorry, I'm being difficult.
No, honestly, I think that's a good answer.
I'm trying to think how I can answer your question. It's taken me time, dedication, reflection, and kind of, I don't know, just thought really about what I'm doing and what I've done. And I would say the biggest thing that's taken me is confidence, building my confidence. You've got to be confident enough to do it. And that can take time. So I would say the biggest thing is time, but giving yourself enough time, but not too much time.
Okay.
Because you don't want time. Time is of the essence, isn't it? Time is something you can't get back.
I think it's our most valuable currency.
Yeah, it is. Time is more than, it's the richest thing in the world, time, isn't it? There's nothing that tops it.
Yeah. Is it worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is worth it.
So this is something that I've wanted to touch on since we started, because you've been mentioning confidence since the start of the episode.
Sorry, yeah, that word
episode.
always flies out around. Doesn't it?
No, it's quite all right. Oh no, that was what I was going to ask you first. How do I want to do this? No, go on. So, what does confidence mean to you?
Confidence to me means not being. It's very different than arrogancy, and I want to say that straight away. I'm not saying I have, my confidence fluctuates. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I have minimal confidence, but when I can find the confidence in me, I then do all right, and it's just believing in yourself.
Yeah.
And the way I think I built up my confidence is I'll do something, and I used to wait for someone else's reaction. So I'd want to hear, oh, you've done amazing. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Or you're doing really well. But I think actually you need to be the one that's proud of it. Because unless you're proud of it, you're not going to appreciate it, and then you're not going to become confident. So what I would do is just think, actually what you did today was really good. That was good, Jessie. Fair play to you. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's just little things.
Yeah.
I think, seeking out reassurance from others, which I am guilty of and have been guilty of.
You're only human.
Yeah, which I think all humans are, but admitting it, again, it's quite a difficult thing to admit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is a horrible slope to get down. Do you know what I mean? Because we've all each got our own individual stories. You can't expect people just to concentrate on you because they've got themselves as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, confidence and competence are two different things for me, and making sure that they both equal out. You don't want to be too confident, but you also don't want to be not confident at all. There's a balance.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really good and important place to be, just in the middle of that. Understanding that you're not perfect at everything, but also understanding that actually you're capable of most things.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of feed off one of each other if you keep them healthy.
Yeah,
healthy balance.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. I've never thought about it that way before.
Doubt is a good thing. Doubting is a good thing sometimes.
Okay.
And I say that, and I know, I get that reaction quite a lot, like, oh, was it? It is. I'm not saying huge doubt, but just a little bit.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm going to guess the way that you're thinking about it. Doubt is important because if you didn't have doubt, you'd never be able to prove to yourself that you could do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, you couldn't have put it in any other way that I kind of wanted to say it, really. It's important because if you had no doubt or no risk in life, then it wouldn't be worth doing.
It's almost like not being afraid of anything.
Absolutely, you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to take some risks in life, and I can tell you, I've probably taken quite a few.
Yeah, but I think that's instrumental in becoming who you really are. If you don't take those risks, you just stay a version of yourself unchanged and
absolutely.
Evolved.
And then that it has a detrimental effect, doesn't it? Because it then everything is related to one another. And the way I say this, your job is related to money. Money's related to some activities and itemised things. And don't get me wrong, like I said in the last episode, money's not everything. I know that. But let's face it, we all need a little bit of money to do things. And then obviously your self-esteem comes in, your self-worth, your own confidence, your own self-belief in yourself. And they're all really, really key important things for you to be able to become successful.
Yeah.
And you have to believe in yourself to do that. And I think it's really, really important. And guys, if I can give you any advice, if I can do it with my past, my history, from my culture, anyone's capable of doing it. And really, really, you just have to believe in yourself. I think that's the most important message.
Fantastic. I found that believing in yourself, it's such a tool to have, but you've got to earn it.
Yeah.
You've got to earn it by proving to yourself, by taking those risks and getting there. I wanted to talk to you about confidence because something that I heard a couple of weeks ago was quite interesting, and it's something that I think you've been speaking about in your own way. It's how you've come so far by learning to kind of realize that it's about what you want to do and what you think rather than what other people think, and kind of shutting out perceptions of other people might not about you. And this thing that I saw about confidence is that confidence isn't showing yourself off to like a bunch of different people when you walk into the room. It's not saying, okay, this is me, this is who I am, this is look at me. That's not confidence. Confidence is walking into a room not caring what anyone thinks about you. Confidence is saying, I could go into that room, dress what I like, in my pajamas, doing what I want. And I think that's what you've been talking about. I think that definition that I had of confidence, you definitely seem to have been embodying by learning that it's not about what people say, it's not about what people think, it's about I've got something to do, I'm going to go ahead and do it. People are going to think, people are going to talk, people are going to say everything. You've had it with the things with the article in the Sun. People are going to talk.
Yeah.
It's just it's your choice whether you let that get to you or phase you, or what it is that you filter through.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could let it knock you, couldn't you? You could take them knocks from jealous people that are just jealous. I don't know.
You never know.
You just never understand it. You don't understand some people's mentality, do you? But you can either, there's two options that I've got there. A, use the opportunity, be proud of what I've achieved and proud that it's in the Sun and it's been explored and actually it's a really good achievement, and take on the majority of people's comments, or take on the minorities' comments, let the self-doubt creep in, take the bad comments, not use it as an advantage or an opportunity, allow them to control your life. Which one do you go for? And I know which one I'm going for.
Yeah.
Old me, Sam, sorry to overspeak you, an old me would have went for option B because it's the easier option. I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to do as I'm told, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that, whereas I'm not like that now.
Yeah. Option 1 fuels you, motivates you and encourages you.
Absolutely.
Option 2 brings you down.
Because if I'd have stuck to option 2, so B, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be a paramedic, I wouldn't be qualified, I wouldn't have my own house, I wouldn't have been married to a bloke that I really love, that I've been with 12 years, I wouldn't have children, I wouldn't have any of these things. So I'm glad that I followed my own instinct, and that's what I'm going to continue to do because I trust it. So
amazing. So learn to go on. How would you surmise that for the audience?
So I would say to you, learn to love yourself. Loving yourself is more important than someone loving you. That's a huge thing. Follow your dreams. Anything is possible. Self-doubt will always creep in, but it's overseeing that. Self-doubt is okay. We all suffer with it. I get it all the time. I've had it today before coming in front of you guys. The voices creep in. And when I say voices, guys, I'm not hearing voices. I don't need a psychiatric assessment just yet, but you never know for the future. It's kind of, you think, oh, am I worthy of this? Why me? And it's just allowing yourself time to think, actually, yeah, you are worthy. You're worthy of anything. And once you start doing that and you start believing in yourself and you do what you want to do with your life and you make your own choices on the basis of your beliefs, your ambition, life will be a lot more smoother for you. You're going to get hiccups. We all get hiccups all the time. There's always bumps in the road, but eventually them bumps will fade out and you will go on and you will thrive and you will achieve.
Fantastic. I get in the episode there and that'll be a great result. We're not going to just yet, but yeah, that was amazing. We're going to talk now about some reflections of Jessie's life. And the first one is, how would you define success?
So success can mean different things to everyone, can't it? That word, success is different to each individual. For me, it's, being happy. That's the main thing. And genuinely, I absolutely 100% mean it. You could have as much money in the world as anyone sends you. You could win the lottery. And I know, we all think this and you think, oh my God, how amazing would that be? But actually you could be really miserable and feel unsuccessful. Success for me personally is having a nice job, being in a happy relationship, which I am, happy family, children that I love and adore, being healthy, being able to enjoy time with loved ones. That's what success means to me. But obviously I know it means different for other people. But I think that's what it is for me. I'm not bothered about being rich. Genuinely, I'm not rich. And, one day I might be, you never know. Anyone can be, can't they? But I think the most important thing in life is your health, strength, and your family and friends. And I think that's the most important thing to me. I think that's success. That's what success looks like for me.
Excellent answer. Do you have any regrets?
Do I have any regrets? Oh, I've got to think now. Regrets. Yeah, probably. Not many, but just, like a couple of niggly things. Like I said to you earlier, I wish that I would have the mentality that I've got now back then in the day. Does that make sense? So, followed my own head, my own thoughts and what I want to do. Because in my head, I think, well, you've not done too bad now and you started off a bit later in life. What would have happened, or where would you be now if actually you'd have just followed your own head earlier on, a bit earlier? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
But that would be my only regret, I think.
I think there's definitely worse ones to have.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple out there that I'm thinking, what do I regret? But there's nothing.
A couple of dodgy decisions.
Yeah, we all make bad decisions, don't we?
Yeah.
But I think, again, guys, what I want to say to you directly is there's nothing wrong with a bad decision. It's just recognising that it's a bad decision, and we all make bad decisions, and we can only make good decisions because we've made bad decisions, and I really hope that makes sense.
Hold on. Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah. No,
You reflect on the bad ones, don't you? And you
Yeah.
think, actually, that was a bad decision.
And you make them good decisions.
Yeah, you do. Or you do the bad decision again and then think, oh, actually, no, I'm going to make a good
fuck, I should
decision.
really
But you
do
get
this.
there in the end, don't you?
Yeah. How would you say your identity as Jessie has evolved?
That's a difficult question for me, so I'm really sorry. Can you just maybe rephrase it?
Okay. How has you, as Jessie,
Yeah.
how would you say that you have evolved from where you were when we spoke about at the beginning of this conversation as a child to who you are now? What sort of transformation would you say you've undertaken?
It's really difficult for me to say this.
Yeah.
I know I've been saying to you all throughout, be positive about yourself. But now you're telling me to be positive and talk highly of myself. And I'm a bit like, oh, I'm really struggling here. So I know I need to be able to sort of do what I've asked them to do. But I would say huge transformation, actually. If you'd have said to me when I was younger that I'd be where I am now today, I would have laughed at you. I wouldn't have believed you. I'd thought, what is this bloke on? I think he's mad. I'm not doing all this stuff. I haven't got this camera crew in my mum's lounge in our house interviewing me talking about our old life. It's funny how life turns out, isn't it? But yeah, I definitely wouldn't have seen where I am now. Definitely not. So I would say a huge transformation. I've managed to get my degree. I had no qualifications at school. I've been very lucky. I've been on TV. I've been on your podcast now. I've been on the radio before. I've done a lot for 33.
Yeah.
And then personal, attributes of my family, what I've achieved. I'm quite happy, quite content.
Be proud of it.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am proud of it, which is difficult for me to say because I'm like I said to you, it's quite hard, isn't it?
You don't give yourself the credit, do you?
No, it's quite difficult, but I would say on that I am quite proud.
That's good for you.
Thank you.
What we're going to do now is we're going to give you the platform to say the kind of things that you want. So I might set you up with a couple of different things, and it's up to you to just speak to me or speak to the audience directly about what it is that you have to say. So the first one is what do you have to say about following through on your dreams?
I think you need to set realistic goals for yourself. And I know I've banged on about goals. I've mentioned that word quite a lot. And I don't like football, so why the hell I use it, I don't know. But to me, it makes sense. It's about setting yourself a target and looking at how you can achieve that target. And I think, if you have a focus in life and you stick to that focus, it kind of keeps you on that narrowed path. And don't get me wrong, on that narrowed path, you're probably going to divert a little bit. I know I definitely did. But you will get there if it remains your focus, your true focus to you. And I say this not lightly at all. It has to be to you and you only. Like I said before, you can't be doing something because someone else wants you to do it. You can't be something because someone else wants you to be it. You have to be or do something because you want that as a person. And until you do it because it's you, it will come. If it's from you, it comes from your heart, it comes from your own brain. But if you're doing it because it's someone else's dream or whatever, or they want you to be, you're not doing it for your own inner self. So you won't put all that sort of compassion and hard work into it. And it's the hard work, own compassion that creates it individually for you that basically helps you thrive. An example of that is obviously me being a paramedic. You know, where it stems from is my granddad. Yes, I know what I need. I need GCSEs. I need the access course. I need to get a place at uni. I need to pass my degree. I need to get a job. I know all them things are really, really hard. But the biggest driver in the world was me seeing them paramedics attend my granddad, because I thought, I want to be that person. I want to be in that uniform. I want that job. What can I do? And I think, you know, having that as a stepping stone and kind of a guide what I want to do, I thought I need to do it. And I never forget, and when I say about knockbacks, you do get knockbacks. I went for an ECA assessment to be an ECA and they didn't want me.
Really?
I failed the assessment.
Okay.
Yeah. And I thought, right, I don't do well with rejection. So I'm going to go back. And I did. I came back and I became one of the managers, which is quite hilarious, isn't it? But yeah, so it's just basically understanding yourself. You have to understand yourself as a person for someone else to understand you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's almost like that phrase. And I know it sounds cheesy, but you've got to love yourself until, you know, if you want someone to love you. And that is true to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not being harsh when I say it, and I know it sounds really cheesy. And honestly, I definitely don't love myself, but you have to like yourself at least. You know, you have to give yourself some credit. And it's that self-credit that will release all them positive chemicals in your body, which will give you drive. It will give you a good night's sleep. It will give you the drive to get up in the morning. It will give you the ambition. And ambition is a huge, huge thing. You have to have ambition in life, because if you don't have ambition or something that you really want to do or a purpose, it kind of makes everything difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And again, an example of that, you know, why bother eating healthy if I can't be bothered to go out and see anyone, you know? An example of it to make it related to the summer is, you know, and I'm definitely not an advocate of this, so, you know, I'm definitely not got a summer's body, but, you know, like in the summer, you want to look nice, don't you, when you go on the beach and stuff? You know, you eat healthy, you go to the gym, you do all the things you got to do. If you're not going to the beach, you're not going to go to the gym, are you?
No.
Some people wouldn't, you know,
because
there's no reason. So I'm just trying to make it similar. It's probably a really bad, you can tell I'm not a presenter, guys. It's probably a bad way of explaining it, but that's just what I'm trying to say. If you've got that end point that you want, you'll work hard for it.
The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche has a quote: "He who has a why can endure almost any how."
Yeah, it's true though, isn't it? I've never heard that, but that's really, really good.
Yeah, and they say, like, have your North Star, have the thing at the end which is always guiding you towards or guiding you forward on your path.
Yeah,
I think you're right, and I think in addition to that is take some time, figure out what it is that you want. Like, is it what you really want? Like, look inside yourself, and as you say, if it's not something that you want, something that someone else's want, it's only going to make you miserable. But take time to kind of figure out what it is, what that thing is that you really want, and fucking go for it. Go for it. Regardless of what people think, say, or if it means that much to you, then you owe it to yourself.
You've got to do it to yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so what does the world need more of?
I think the world needs more of sort of, you know, kindness. I don't know, kindness. They need to relax a little bit. You know, you drive down the shop now and everyone's in such a race. People won't let you out. People won't stop for you to cross the road. You know, everyone's in their own rush. It's all about themselves. And I think as a society, we've become quite selfish. People just see themselves and their own problems. They don't think about anyone else.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I think, you know, asking someone how their day's going is not the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? Like back in the day, you hear stories, don't you? I hear it from Andy's now quite a lot. You know, back in the day, and she's 87 now. She wouldn't mind me saying her age, but she doesn't. She's said it now. But, you know, people would look after one another. It was more of a community.
Yeah.
Whereas now, even in family, you know, cultures and, you know, family units, it's all about who's going to do better. It's never like, oh, you know, you've done really, really well. Let's share this moment. Let's work together to be something, to achieve something. We don't have that anymore. And that's a shame because, you know, often if people work together, it's like anything, isn't it? Teamwork makes the dream work. And that's literally, as cheesy as it sounds, it's true. But if you're not working as a team, it's quite hard to achieve something.
I think you're definitely right. Again, it's just because it was in my mind from last week. It's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
It's true though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
work together as a team. And I think, I'm very lucky because me and Andy do work really well as a team. And I think that's how we've, done well, and I'm not saying, we're at the top of the tree, because we're not. The other people out there have done better than we have, but we haven't done too bad for our ages. We've achieved a lot with our jobs and dreams, ambitions, and hopefully there's more to come and we'll do better. But the key thing is working together.
Yeah.
It's really important. If you're working against each other, it's not going to work. No. But if you're together and you're looking after one another, you debrief together, you talk, and that's what, to me, relationships should be about. It's about strong friendships. Your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend should be your friend. You should be able to get on. You should be able to share differences, talk to one another about, how you're feeling, and not feel like you're being judged or seen as a weaker person just because you're upset about something and they're not. Does that make any sense?
It does.
So I think that's the key to success, really, and kind of getting you there. It's working together and basically believing in yourself.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You are so welcome.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully, we've got you in a good time before you absolutely blow up and go viral. And
I doubt it. You never know, though, do you?
Yeah, but there's so much in there. I think if someone takes the time, sits down and listens to this, there's so much out there. And if someone is in that position, like the person that we're always trying to reach, I think you could have done so much good for them.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming on and being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been really, really enjoyable. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Has it been all right?
I've loved it. Thank you very much. I know I waffle on a little bit, but
I know it's all good.
I'm relaxed here with my cup of tea. It's all good. It's nice and
You're in
relaxing.
comfort in your own home. We've never come to someone else's home before. It's always been at one of our locations. So this is interesting and new for us. But does it make you more comfortable being here?
It does, actually. Yeah, it is quite comforting. I'm thinking, I feel quite comfortable because I'm in my own home. I can relax.
Good.
And you can also relate as well, because you can look around at pictures in the room and stuff, or feel, I don't know, smells. I said to you earlier, didn't I? Them triggers that make you think about stuff. And as time, as you've been talking about the interview, I don't know, I was looking at a photograph over there and I thought, oh yeah, I'm thinking of that day. I'm thinking of that day,
Nice.
How I felt then. So yeah, I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, brilliant. I haven't done this before, but who would you like to see come on the podcast? Or what sort of person? Or
I would like to see...
Who would you listen to?
Someone of significance to many people.
Okay.
In a sense, not an idol. I'm not saying that, we need to try and get The Rock on here or something like that. You never know, they say.
Hey.
But, just getting someone out, I don't know, just someone who can maybe expose that actually it's okay to not be okay. Because I often find with people that if they're people that they look up to, i.e. footballers, people that are in them sort of job roles or line of work, and they sort of say, I'm struggling with this or I'm struggling with that, they come out of them, their showers a lot more.
Yeah, someone like who's got this, who you'd think could have an idyllic life.
And it's not.
Successful or something.
Yeah.
But no,
and I think that's a huge thing. And I think, people should see that. Often what's going on the inside is not seen from the outside. And again, look at me and all my quotes today. I tell you, it's not too bad.
Oh, wow, yeah. You need to get you starting making bumper stickers or something.
Yeah, I know, right? That's a new job. See, don't give me another goal, will you? But yeah, no, just things like that. I think that would be really nice. Just and it doesn't have to be people of significance. It can just be people like myself that just want to talk a natural, real story.
Yeah.
And I think the more and more it's recognised by people, the more better it will become. The more self-aware we'll become. The more people will, out there struggling. I'd like to hope and think that if there is someone struggling and they listen to your podcast and they're having a really, really shitty time, they can sit there, listen and hear the words and think, actually, what he's saying I'm experiencing. And then you don't feel so alone.
Yeah.
But it's a very lonely place when you've got no one else to reach out to and you're experiencing a symptom.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I've no doubt that there are plenty of people out there that you might have potentially just given that to. So
thank you.
Yeah, we do appreciate you coming on and you've been amazing. So,
thank you very much, Servio. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. Thank you for tuning in, particularly if you've made it to the end of this episode. If you're here and you're still listening, you might as well give us a like, subscribe, rate us on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, or give us a share. That is what would really help us out the most. And also, if you know anyone of significance or of high profile,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And feel free to follow me as well.
Oh yeah.
I'm
You
gonna
got,
be
where
sticking
can
out
people
there.
find you?
Jessie Jeff on Instagram.
Yeah.
Is my story. The Sun article, potentially other stuff coming out. And again, I'm not doing it as a show off, guys. I'm just doing it to show you that actually you can be who you want to be and you can achieve what you can. Let's see what happens.
And that's JESSE
JESSIE
IE.
LEE Jeff JEFF. So at Jessie Jeff. That was brilliant, wasn't it? Not, but yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Take care of yourselves and see you next time.